Coming soon to Summoner's Rift is one of the biggest nerfs in League's patch history. They are nerfing Q dodging. My name is Irene, and I'm here to tell you all about it. Aside from Q dodging, Riot has a lot planned. They're trying to take on a multitude of disruptive behaviors all at once. Make sure to hit that sub button, and let's start talking about it. The first question we need to answer is a simple one. Is dodging bad? Although the answer to that question is subjective, if we instead ask whether or not having the option to dodge is bad, then the answer is a resounding no. Sometimes, real life hits us during champion select, and other times, someone decides to hold the lobby hostage. Having the option to abandon ship is a blessing that most of us are happy to have. That being said, let's talk about Riot's goals with the upcoming changes. Riot hopes to reduce the frequency of disruptive behavior, reduce the harm done by said behavior, increase the confidence players can have in the automatic detection system, improve matchmaking quality without sacrificing queue time, and reduce champion select dodges across all ranks. Staying on the topic of dodging, what are the issues? Well, it's simple. It's gotten to a point where players typically abuse the system to gain LP. While yes, you definitely need to dodge some games, there are those situations where someone didn't get their role and you're about to have two junglers. Other times, a teammate is running Ghost Cleanse to run it down mid as fast as possible. But I'd emphasize to everyone that they're not my teammates by choice. This doesn't compromise every dodge though. In fact, especially in high elo, players will dodge for little things to optimize their chances at winning. There's that one guy you'll run into who pulls up everyone's profiles on a web browser to make sure everyone is playing their mains, and if they aren't, well then they might dodge or try to get someone on their team to dodge. Other times, players might see a slightly unfavorable draft and decide to hop out of queue. Although once in a while this is fine and optimal, it also creates a ton of frustration. Just seconds before your game is about to start, someone abandons the game, and now you're stuck waiting in queue for another game. You find that game and have to go through the entire draft phase again, watching 10 players slowly pick their champions, and the worst part is that it can happen again, and you're stuck waiting in queue for a third time. This is a problem, and I hope a lot of you guys can actually relate. It's become far too mainstream to dodge. The fact that it's also an optimal method to climb is an issue. The act itself isn't bad. We're all trying to climb, but clearly there is an issue with the system. Riot is working on it, but for now, we have some temporary solutions. There are penalties in place for consecutive dodges, and one of the biggest upcoming changes is a bigger penalty. At the moment, you lose 3 LP for your first dodge in 24 hours and get locked out of queue for 6 minutes. A second one in the same 24 hours leads to a 30-minute lockout and a loss of 10 LP. What's new is that a third tier is being added, where you still only lose 10 LP, but you're locked out of queue for 12 hours. This is a temporary fix as Riot is looking into issues like autofill, hostage situations in champion select, and one-tricking in high elo. One-tricks are definitely going to have a hard time with this change. All too often, especially in high elo, players might be able to guess or stream snipe someone in your lobby and ban your champion out. Being forced to dodge in these situations, it's looking pretty rough, and hopefully a solution comes soon. Before we move forward, I do quickly want to shout out our website, ProGuides.com. Check it out if you're trying to improve. We have a ton of great coaches and content over there. Now, back to the topic. Aside from dodges, AFK penalties are also seeing harsh changes. At the moment, AFKing or leaving a game has 3 tiers of penalties. The first gives you an auto loss and 5 minutes of a lockout, while the second and third tiers lock you out for 10 and 15 minutes respectively. Under the revised system, it'll be 5 minutes, 30 minutes, and 14 days respectively. This will heavily punish players who frequently rage quit, and I'm actually okay with this. As long as players who unintentionally disconnect because of internet issues aren't punished, I think this change is quite reasonable. What can I say? I really hate people who AFK in my games. Another system that's actually live at the moment is that there's an escalating penalty for each game you AFK or leave. This is separated into 5 tiers where you lose 2, 3, 5, 6, and 8 additional LP depending on how many consecutive games you ditched. Playing a game without leaving or AFKing will drop down a tier on this second set of penalties. Following these updates, Riot has more plans for the future as well. A big change Riot plans to work on is a better reporting system that'll factor in time data. In other words, reports, when considered, should consider at what time in a game their disruptive behavior occurred. Next, the penalties for repeat offenders are set to get some finer developments as well. Players who consistently display toxic behavior will probably receive harsher punishments as these systems are worked out. And finally, Riot plans to continue working on AFK, intentional feeding, and verbal abuse detection. On top of all this, in my personal opinion, these changes are nice, but there might be some unforeseen consequences. For example, the dodging penalty may affect people who experience client bugs and can't lock their champion in and end up dodging. That will be even more frustrating, especially if it happens multiple times. And this AFK penalty change, well, if people have bad internet, getting 14 days of lockout means you have a lot of time to try and get it fixed, I guess. But we'll see how it works for Riot. Anyways, that's gonna wrap up this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next time.